I met this guy named Matt during a night out with some friends at a bar one summer. It was a big group outing, and Matt and I struck up a conversation while watching the Cubs game. We hit it off pretty easily, and while we were talking, my group gradually drifted off, so we never really interacted with any of them. We ended up trading Instagram handles. His profile showed a decent follower count and gave the impression he was just your average 20-something who liked going out, staying active, and traveling. After we swapped info, I rejoined my group. Honestly, when you vibe with another guy at a bar, you always say you'll connect later, but realistically, it rarely ever happens once you're sober the next day. But the next day, Saturday, I went out again with some friends to a bar restaurant on the water for my buddy Tyler's birthday. I posted something to my Instagram story while we were singing at the bar for him. About an hour after dinner, we were hanging out near the outdoor area when someone tapped me on the shoulder. I turned around, and it was Matt. He greeted me with a smile and said this place was one of his favorite Saturday night spots. I formally introduced him to my friends, saying, "You guys remember Matt?" They didn't talk to him the night before, but they'd seen him around. As the night went on, Matt stuck around. No one minded, since everyone was drinking and in good spirits, including him. The next time I saw him after that was when he invited me to play golf one weekend. I'm not great at it, but I've always wanted to improve, so I agreed. It was early on a Sunday, maybe the next weekend after we'd hung out. I tried to rally a couple of friends to come along, but they were all too hung over or said it was too early, so it ended up just being me and Matt. We played 9 holes, took about 2 hours, and then grabbed food before heading home. I chilled the rest of the day to get ready for work on Monday. After that, I saw Matt out one more time before he brought up the idea of a hiking trip to Arizona. The Grand Canyon had always been on my travel bucket list, so after checking my work schedule and confirming I could take the time off, I was in. I asked Tyler and a few others if they wanted to come, but they all gave the usual excuses. Couldn't get time off or needed to save money. I asked Matt if any of his friends were going, and he said he was going solo. I hadn't met any of his friends, but his Instagram made him seem super social, so I didn't think much of it. We flew out on August 15th, returning on the 18th. We landed late at night. Matt had rented a car, and we stopped for some food and drinks before heading to the Airbnb. When we got there, I noticed there was only one bed. I hadn't asked about the sleeping arrangements beforehand. When I brought it up, Matt pointed to the couch and said, "It pulls out." He added that he wasn't charging me for the Airbnb anyway, so I shouldn't stress. A free trip to Arizona? Fine by me. I set up the couch bed, which turned out to be more comfortable than expected, and crashed. Sometime during the night, I woke up when I heard Matt walking through the living room to the kitchen. I'm a light sleeper. Any little noise wakes me up. I turned over and went back to sleep. The next morning, Matt woke me up early. The weather was perfect, and we drove straight to the Grand Canyon. I didn't realize how massive it really was or how many trails there were. We chose the Bright Angel Trail. That's when I discovered how out of shape I was. Matt, on the other hand, was cruising along, laughing and telling me to catch up. We took lots of breaks and got a ton of great photos. The scenery was incredible, After hiking for about 2 to 3 hours, we got back to the car. I was starving. We stopped at a deli on the way back. The drive back to Phoenix was long, and we both took a midday nap when we returned. Later, we explored the city, and naturally, Matt wanted to hit up some bars. Even though I didn't know him that well, it was clear the guy liked to drink. We both got super drunk that night, me probably more than him, back to the Airbnb and leaving the rental parked on a street. The whole night blurred together. I just remember Matt blasting music and me plugging in my phone beside the couch before dozing off. That night, I woke up again, maybe a few hours later, because I desperately needed to pee and my mouth was insanely dry. On the way to the bathroom, I heard a creak, like a floorboard shifting under weight. I looked around, but saw nothing. I went to the bathroom, and while I was peeing, I heard a door close. Had to be Matt's room. When I was done, I tried his door. It was locked. I knocked, but got no response. I just let it go and went back to the couch, falling asleep again pretty quickly. The next morning, I woke up around 8 with a pounding headache. The first thing I noticed was my phone. It wasn't where I left it. I had plugged it in beside the couch, but now it was sitting unplugged on the table. I couldn't remember moving it, but I chalked it up to being extremely drunk. We didn't do any hiking that day. I was way too hungover. We Ubered back to the car and spent the day driving around checking out neighborhoods and the botanical gardens. I wasn't in the mood to drink, but Matt eventually convinced me. It turned into another heavy night. Our flight was at 1 p.m. the next day, so at least we didn't have to get up early. We got back to the Airbnb sometime between 1 and 2 a.m. Matt offered me the bed that night, saying it was only fair. I didn't argue. I moved my stuff into his room, said goodnight, and shut the door behind me. I didn't lock it, but the knob had one of those basic locks that can be opened with something as simple as a butter knife anyway. I wish I could say the story ended there and we went home without incident, but I woke up again not long after falling asleep. I wasn't sure what had woken me. It was like hearing a sound while still technically asleep. I looked around for my phone. It was missing again. I had plugged it in and placed it beside me, but now the cord was dangling with no phone attached. I checked the floor and then froze when I saw Matt lying face down on the floor beside the bed, on the side farthest from the door. I jumped and screamed. He looked up like he'd just woken from a deep sleep. I yelled, "What are you doing?" He mumbled something about being too drunk and coming into the wrong room, then deciding to crash on the floor when he remembered I had the bed. But that made no sense. He wasn't near the door. I accused him of taking my phone, and he acted clueless. He told me to check under the bed. Then he bent down, looked under, and almost immediately pulled it out, saying, "Here it is." The way he handed it to me, it just didn't feel right. I stared at him and realized I was looking at someone I didn't really know at all. Was this guy actually trying to access my phone? I told him I'd just sleep on the couch, but he insisted he would instead. He left the room. You better believe I locked the door this time. If it weren't for the phone stuff, maybe I'd have brushed it off as just weird, drunk behavior. But something didn't feel right. I was sure he'd taken my phone both times. Still a bit drunk, I managed to fall back asleep. But it didn't end there. I woke up one more time that night, and this time I immediately knew why. Matt was standing at the foot of the bed. It was too dark to see his face, just his outline. I didn't scream right away. He sat down and started rubbing my foot. That's when I freaked out and yelled at him to get out. When he didn't move, I had to shove him off the bed and out of the room. I started packing my things in a frenzy. He didn't say a word, just sat on the couch staring at me like some creepy NPC. It was honestly the most disturbing part. I booked an Uber to the airport. I wasn't staying another second. He didn't stop me. The sun was just starting to rise when I got to the airport. I tried to rest, but my mind wouldn't shut off. I paid extra to change my seat on the flight just so I wouldn't have to sit next to him. I stared out the window the entire time while the plane boarded, avoiding eye contact. I didn't tell my friends right away. I needed time to sort through everything. When I finally did, some of them said, "We told you he was weird." They pointed out how both times we ran into him, he was alone. It made me think maybe he showed up at that second bar because he saw my Instagram story. Creepy. I blocked his number and Instagram. But before I did, I checked out one of his old posts where he was with friends. No one was tagged, but I found a comment from a guy who looked like he was in the photo. I messaged him to ask if he still talked to Matt. He replied in less than 10 minutes. "Nah, guy's a freak. Run away." He went on to tell me his own weird experiences and how other friends had also cut Matt off. He said Matt refused to take the picture down, even though people untagged themselves. When I told him about Arizona, his response was blunt. "Guy should be in jail." It's insane. I thought Matt was just a chill guy looking for a friend. Turns out he might have been something way more dangerous. I still can't stop thinking about what he was trying to find on my phone.